Welcome to Spoiler Peace Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast.
My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm co-host of the Slashers podcast, also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
And I'm Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write about movies, and I also am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
Hell yeah, you are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yowza.
Yowza. That was my Axl Rose, yes.
I was going to say, what was your Bugs Bunny sound effect from earlier? Ting.
Coing.
Coing.
Yeah, that's when he has a sudden realization, you know?
Love it. Well, we're here to talk about movies like we always do. Before we get to this week's movies, I want to mention that over on our Patreon, this week, for our exclusive audio, we're talking about the 1974 film The Conversation, written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola and starring Gene Hackman. And it was a really fun conversation. Two of us had not seen it before, so it was a first time watch. And we had a lot of fun, and we had a lot of laughs, and we got pretty goofy toward the end of it. So if you're a patron, check it out. And if you're not a patron, please consider joining for $5 a month. You get access to weekly bonus episodes where we talk about generally older films, so higher likelihood you've already seen them. And we also do polls. Every month we do a poll you can vote in, and you get to pick something out for us to watch on some interesting theme. We kind of have some fun poll themes, and I guess you'll see if you're a patron what we picked out for this month. So onward to this week's movies. We are going to start out. Megan is going to regale us about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, the latest Guy Ritchie outing. And then we are going to be talking about We Grown Now, which is a drama set in early 90s Chicago. So, Megan, tell us about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I like your little accent there. It's great.
Thanks.
Yeah, so the ministry, as you said, it's a very long title. The ministry of stuff. It's Guy Ritchie. It's based on the book with the same title, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, How Churchill's Secret Warriors Set Europe Ablaze and Gave Birth to Modern Black Ops by Damian Lewis. Good God, that's a mouthful.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And because these classified documents from the British War Department became unclassified in 2016, and so previously unknown to the public information became public. And yeah, so it's about the formation of this group, specifically one mission. They've got to get a team, and they got to get a team, and the person that they need, there's no other man for the job. They got to get him out of retirement. And
boy.
AKA retirement is he's in jail, and that's Henry Cavill. And so he's in jail, and they pull him out of jail. Well, actually, first off, I should back up. The film doesn't open that way. The film opens in the middle of the story, which I really like. And it starts with Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson, who plays Reacher, on a fishing boat in the middle of the ocean. And he is pretending, Alan Ritchson is pretending he is a Swedish fisherman. Oh my God, I can't talk. And the Nazis aboard the ship, and he's just like, yeah, it's just us two Swedish fishermen. There's nobody else here. There's nothing nefarious going on. And so they
Nothing
search.
to see here.
Nothing to see here. And so they search the whole boat, and the two of them, Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson, are making jokes and, being silly. And then below deck, the rest of their crew, which is only two more guys, comes out and starts shooting people. And then Alan Ritchson goes knife crazy and starts stabbing everyone, and lots of slicing and dicing of Nazis and throwing them overboard. So that's how the film starts. And then you see Henry Golding comes swimming out of the water and gets on board. And he's like, hey, Captain, talking to Henry Cavill, what are we doing here? What's our mission? And then rewind to the formation of the group. And so they get Henry Cavill out of jail, and they're like, you need to do this mission. And he's like, okay, but I'll do it, but I need to pick my own team. And so he picks his team, and Alan Ritchson is called the Danish Hammer because he's so good with, not a hammer, funny enough, but he's so good with a Bowie knife and a bow and arrow, and he's kind of ruthless. And I think he's like descended from royalty or something. But anyway, he needs him. Then he also needs Henry Golding, who is a master explosives expert, but is also an arsonist. And then, yeah,
It's always something.
Always something. Yeah. And then he needs this other guy, Hazy, who is kind of his protege and who's an excellent captain and sailor, and he needs him to sail the boat. And then they absolutely have to have what's his face? The Pettyfer guy. What's his name? I can't even remember his
Alex
name.
Pettyfer?
Alex Pettyfer. Thank you. And they absolutely got to have him. Except the problem is he's been taken into custody by the Nazis, and they're torturing him for information. But don't worry, Henry Cavill says, we got to get him. We're going to bust him out. We're going to get in there and we're going to get him. And that is exactly what happens. So yeah, so that team, the whole point of their mission is they have to blow up a boat that has all these explosives that's going to be docking in a harbor, and they have to do this so it can get rid of all of the fuel for the U-boats, because they're trying to stop the U-boats from controlling the ocean and the seas and all that. So they have two other people who are working with them, two people on the ground who are at the harbor trying to take care of things there. One of them is Aisa Gonzalez, and as the only woman member of the team, she is, of course, because she's gorgeous and a singer and an actress in the movie as well as in real life, she's got to play the role of seduction and seduce a Nazi commander and distract him so they can get in and do their things with the explosives and all of that. But of course, things don't go according to plan. Things go awry, and they have to come up with some makeshift details on the fly. Lots of blowing things up, lots of Nazis dying, being either gunned down or knifed or stabbing and knifing is the same thing, but lots of dead Nazis, lots of dead Nazis, lots and lots. But yeah, and lots of explosions and it's basically just one heist after another. And I'm always here for a heist movie. I like Henry Cavill. I think he is quite charming, and I think especially after he did the Superman movies, which I thought he was fine with. Not that I like those movies, but I think he's quite good. But I think the movies he has chosen afterwards have really given him a chance to shine and let him show his kind of humor and his charm. And yeah, he's kind of silly here. And I love Alan Ritchson. I think he's great in Reacher. I like him here. He is enormous and in an extremely physical role. Yeah, and everybody, like, nobody really has a character here. Like, everybody's just kind of wisecracking and murdering people.
In a Guy Ritchie movie? No way.
Shocking, I know.
Shocking.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's no like winning dialogue. There's no character development here. None of that. It's just a heist movie blowing shit up. I will say it looks really good because everything, I shouldn't say everything, but he really wanted to do a lot of practical effects. So there's actually boats. They're actually, they tried to get as many like historic type of boats as they could. They're actually filming in the water. This is not like, a green screen or anything. So it looks really good. I'll say that. And the action scenes are really good and the stunts look good. And I like a heist movie. And I like the cast a lot, but I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm going to forget this in probably 2 weeks, if not sooner, because it's just not memorable and it's not really particularly interesting or exceptionally well done. Nothing you haven't really seen before, but it was a fun time. I enjoyed it while I was watching it. And yeah, I mean, the whole point is supposed to be that they're ungentlemanly, that, they do things, not by the book, and they don't follow orders and all this and that. And I mean, I guess that's true. But I'm watching this and I'm like, this really isn't any different than any other action movie I've seen. Like, maybe this is different in the context of like a British war movie, maybe. But in the context of like an action movie, there's nothing here that's really radical or blazing any trails. But
well, now that I know it's based on a real event or a series of real events or unfortunate events, depending on how you feel about this movie, it kind of makes me want to see it more, because when I saw, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, I was just like, oh, fuck you, Guy Ritchie, and your bullshit. But I mean, it still sounds like there's a lot of that, but maybe there's some historical something or other. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in it now.
Yeah, Winston Churchill is in it. I mean, not the real Winston Churchill, but someone is portraying Winston Churchill. It would be amazing. They raised him from the dead, But someone is portraying, Rory Kinnear is portraying Winston Churchill. And like, there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes things. Like, Carrie Eloise is in it. Someone is playing Ian Fleming, the author, because he worked for intelligence before he became an author. There's a lot of like behind the scenes things going on too. There's a lot of like tactical maneuvering. When they get new information, they have to debrief and discuss and strategize. So it's I will say I am no Guy Ritchie fan, which is why I think it's kind of weird that I went and saw this to review it. But, of the Guy Ritchie movies I've seen, this is now my fifth, I like this the most of any that I've seen because I actually found this enjoyable. Whereas other ones I have found, I don't want to say unwatchable, but not unwatchable.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan.
He kind of has a style and theme that how many things has he made now have the word gentleman in them? He's got
I know,
the Gentleman, the movie. He's got the Gentleman, the TV show. Now he's got the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I think that's probably not coincidental.
No, definitely not. He's kind of got a wheelhouse, and he sometimes strays from it to make things like Aladdin.
But I feel like
he made Aladdin.
He sure did, which is one of the movies of his I did not like.
But yeah, mostly he's kind of like the wisecracking British gangsters and tough guys director.
Yeah.
Does Jason Statham show up at all?
No.
Well, it's not really a Guy Ritchie movie then, is it? I mean, come on.
I think if you have Alan Ritchson, you don't really need Jason Statham. I'm not saying like they're interchangeable, but like I feel like the role that Jason Statham would kind of fulfill, that's what Alan Ritchson is doing. Like, for instance, Henry Cavill, Henry Goulding, and one of the other guys, they're like staking out the kind of military camp that the Nazis are at, where they have Alex Pettyfer, and they're like kind of strategizing like how they're going to go in, and they want to go in really stealthily. And then Alan Ritchson just comes up behind and starts like shooting people with bow and arrows and just like kind of like taking them all out and doing his own thing. So yeah, I feel like he's kind of fulfilling that role. But I was a little surprised not to see Jason Statham too.
Yeah, that is shocking.
Yeah, but again, like Guy Ritchie's style, at least similarly to The Gentleman, I really wish. Now, I know the real life story, there was just one woman on the mission, Marjorie Stewart, I think her last name was. But I'm just tired. I'm tired of women just being depicted as like, oh, she's cool because she could shoot guns. Oh, isn't she cool because she's in a hot dress? Like, I'm just like, it's just frustrating. And like, yes, technically this character is the one who is like coming up with a lot of ideas for the plan, but still it feels so reductionist in its very sexist, regressive way of depicting a woman character, especially when she's the only woman character.
I'm not going to throw Guy Ritchie's name in again, but
I know.
Yeah, he has a thing that he does, and I think most people probably know whether that's going to work for them. It sounds like you were kind of surprised a little bit that you at least enjoyed it on a kind of like visceral level as you were like taking it in. Even
Yes.
if like bigger picture, it's got some serious flaws.
Yes. And like I feel like if this had had a really good script and really great characters, I think this would be good because all the other elements are really interesting and compelling and are well executed. But yeah. And I like the cast, but well, not Alex Pettyfer. I never like him.
No, I'm not a fan of
No,
him.
he's not good.
No. He's not good at all. But yeah, but the rest of the cast I like. But yeah. But this was fine. This was fine. Some
It's
good
fine.
killing.
Megan Kearns from Spoil the Peace Theater.
Yes. But not the technical definition, the way Dave uses it. Like a fine actor, like an excellent actor.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like, it's fine.
More like it's all right. It's all right.
Yes. Exactly. But yeah, Dave, I want you to see it, and I'm curious what you think because you might like it more than I did.
I don't know.
Or maybe not.
I mean, I might enjoy it because
You might too, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, I like me an action movie, and I do enjoy Guy Ritchie movies, even though he just does pretty much the same thing over and over again.
And I feel like when he goes outside of his wheelhouse, they're really terrible. You know, the Madonna movie. I think is it Swept Away or
it sure is.
And then there's one that he made with Jason Statham where Jason Statham has hair, which was should have been my first clue.
What?
Yes.
That's alarming.
Yeah.
Wait, which one was that?
I can't remember what it's called, but it's about it's got his slow motion thing, but it's not because he's just trying to be cool. It's because the guy's like going back in time or he's experiencing things differently.
Yeah. Revolver, I think is the one
that's
you're talking.
it. Yeah. And it is ungodly awful. I mean, it's
yeah, it is. I now that you're mentioning, I'm like, I did see that, and it was bad.
Yeah,
it was not good.
Yeah, well, this is not that. This is not bad. This is not badly made.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the maybe column.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of fun. It's just fun but not memorable.
Switch your brain off kind of movie.
Exactly. If you want to tune out and see some Nazis get mowed down or knifed, there you go.
I'm always ready to see Nazis get mowed down.
Right, exactly. So. They are the quintessential villain.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So shall we move on?
Sure.
So let's talk about We Grown Now, which is a drama, as I mentioned. It is written and directed by, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Minhal Bag. It's set in 1992, as I mentioned, in Chicago. And here's our one-sentence IMDb summary. Two young boys, best friends Malik and Eric, discover the joys and hardships of growing up in the sprawling Cabrini Green public housing complex in 1992 Chicago. Yeah, sure. It's kind of
undersells
slice
it a little.
Of life. Yeah, it undersells it. I'd say it's a slice of life, coming of age kind of mixed movie about these kids, living in the Cabrini Green housing project, and about them just kind of like going through life over the course of like a school year, basically, and some of the things that happen and the things that they have to deal with. Like one of their classmates is killed in some gunfires by some gang members, like accidental killing, and then the cops come to the school, and then the cops lock down the neighborhood, and seeing them experience being forced to like basically carry around an ID to get into their apartments, and then having their apartments raided by the police where they're just horrible. They're just going in, ripping apart everyone's houses, supposedly looking for drugs that aren't there. So it's like about these kids kind of facing some really hard life realities, but still being kids and
they're good kids.
Talking. They're good kids. They are, yeah. And they have parents that are working really hard to support them and take care of them and raise them to be good people. And it's I don't really know what else to say. It's like I said, it's a slice of life kind of movie. So it's a very kind of like going through and following their lives, but it focuses more on Malik than it does Eric. It's more about like Malik and his story, and living with his sister and his mother and grandmother, played by Journey Smollett and S. Epatha Merkerson. And then Eric's father is played by Lil Rel Howery.
An underused Lil Rel Howery.
Yes, but I like the Chicago representation. I like that he's a Chicago guy in a Chicago movie. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what did you think of this? Dave, let's start with you. What did you think of this movie?
I liked this a lot. I liked it a lot. I don't know. I mean, I think that it's more successful as a coming of age story about these two boys than it is a commentary on, in particular, Chicago public housing or what makes a neighborhood. Because they print it right on the screen. A neighborhood is its people, or a place is its people. I think it is.
Yes, that's what it says.
And I think that the still photos at the end of I'm assuming that's actually people who lived in Cabrini Green, because why would you put that in the movie if they weren't?
Right.
Oh, there's a cat next to me.
Hi, cat.
Charlie has shown up. I think those are more effective of kind of portraying slice of lifey kind of stuff of all the residents. I mean, you could make the argument that everybody has to have the ID cards, and everybody's homes are being tossed by the Chicago police because Mayor Daley was Mayor Daley. And that being said, it's effective too. It's just, I feel like it's not the most effective thing. I think the most effective thing is just how Malik and Eric their parents have very different parenting strategies, but it's they're just different strategies. It's not like Eric's dad is like a bad parent or anything. He's just, I don't know, he's different. You don't see him as much though. So the parent you see the most is Malik's mother. And there are big chunks of the movie where they kind of don't acknowledge that the sister is there at all. Did you guys notice that? It's like, what happened to the sister?
Yeah.
Is she like asleep in the other bedroom? Like, what the hell's going on?
Right. She kind of fades the background a little bit. She's there very early in the story, and then she kind of takes a very background kind of role.
Yeah, but I really liked what Malik and Eric do to, they're not really allowed to go outside because of the increasing, let's just say, danger in the neighborhood. And so they have been going to one of the empty apartments and staring at the cracks in the ceiling and, imagining that you can see the space or you can see stars and things like that. And that's cool. And then you get it's not like they have a falling out, but that thing happens with your close friends sometimes where you just, Eric seems to be particularly borderline depressed about his situation. And he's letting his feelings about that sort of leak into his relationship with Malik, especially when Malik's mom decides to move them to Peoria so she can take a better job. And Malik doesn't tell Eric, and Eric is furious that, why wouldn't you tell me that you were moving? And that creates an even bigger rift between them. I want to mention that I think the two kids playing Malik and Eric are terrific in very different ways. And I don't know, I just dug this a lot. I think I could have used more S. Epatha Merkerson and less of her, but less of her explaining a huge chunk of backstory, like why they came from Tupelo, Mississippi to Chicago, because there are some parts of this movie where it's just like, dude, the exposition you're laying on a little thick. And that's one example. I think also that, and this may be a budget thing, that the choices to sort of, most of the time when Malik has a lot of, he imagines a lot of things happening, like he imagines his grandmother on the train coming up from Mississippi to Chicago with his grandfather, and he, I can't remember all the other things he imagines. He imagines them in the apartment, and you see the apartment, you see his mom living there as a child with her mom and dad, because it's the same place that she lived when she was a kid. But you only hear the train, you don't see the train, because that would be a little more expensive, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So there's things like it's interesting choices like that. It's like, well, and normally I wouldn't harp on that, but you go to pains to show us the apartment, that mom grew up in, and see her as a kid, and she seems to be happier than you are. But maybe that's just the way you're imagining it, Malik. Who knows? Overall, I liked the story of the two kids. I liked what is Journey Smollett. I liked her as mom. And but I think it has some gaps, with like it's not as clear what's going on with Eric's family, although it seems like a, pretty stable home, just different set of circumstances. And I also like that the boys go to the Art Institute of Chicago, but it reminded me so much of Ferris Bueller's Day Off that it was distracting.
Yes.
Like the way some of the shots were framed. One of the things that's interesting is this movie is photographed in a really intentional way, but I still feel like a lot of the choices weren't great. Like in the museum, for example, how everything is like, I'm not sure what the intention of this was, to make all of the other people in the museum look like they're basically corpses standing up. But you didn't feel like everyone seems, did you notice that? You're looking at me weird, Evan.
I thought I remember seeing someone on the stairs, but I wasn't sure if it was like that looked like they were frozen.
Yeah, they look like
that,
they're frozen, but they're not frozen. It's weird.
Yeah.
But maybe it's, like the little kids are imagining the whole world is stopped and it's just the two of them, which, okay, fine. I get it. Kind of hackneyed, but I get it. So anyway, overall, this worked for me. I think especially at the end when, that scene when they say goodbye to each other, when, Malik's getting into the car and, Eric more or less just decides that after his dad tells him, look, you're old enough to know right from wrong. So, you should go see, I know you're going to go see Malik and make things right between the two of you. And he does. And it's very touching and very sad. And Eric sheds lots of tears and he's the tough one. So tough in air quotes, of course. He's 10-year-old tough. Anyway, that's how I felt.
I think I'm on a similar page as you about this movie. I think I agree with your point about it working better as a slice of life coming of age kind of movie when it's focusing on the kids, and not to say that it's commentary on like the police and the police state, and those elements aren't effective. They're just, they're not necessarily treading new ground or saying anything revolutionary. Like the scene where their apartment is being destroyed by the police was just gutting.
That was hard.
Like absolutely gutting. It's like the moments work emotionally, but like bigger picture, I feel like it's a less focused part of the movie, or a less focused part of the story. But I agree with you that the performances, I think all around, are really great. The kids especially both give really tremendous performances, and I think I really like that as kids they feel like they're kind of well drawn characters too. Their characters are well drawn and their performances rise up to meet them, and I think that part is really effective in the movie. I think for me the things that didn't quite work were the score, which I found overbearing, and that kind of like thing when you see a movie that it has like a kind of like thoughtful, pensive kind of score that's like, feel things, think about things.
Well, also it feels like it's trying to add tension where there maybe isn't tension sometimes. And it's like, I found that really, I don't like being made to feel tense when I shouldn't be, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that adds up for me too. And I thought it was a little too slow for me. For an hour and a half-ish movie, I thought it could have been paced a little bit better. But I feel like those are relatively minor complaints in a movie that I otherwise was really engaged with because of really great performances and compelling kind of slice of life subject. I liked how it was shot. I think there were a lot of really cool kind of like wide shots of the neighborhood and things. And like I love that shot where they were doing the double dutch and you're looking between the kids like orange chucks and you're seeing the
Yep.
kids' feet
That was
and
cool.
when they're running and jumping and all the stuff at the museum, although very reminiscent of Ferris Bueller. Seeing them kind of go out on a day in Chicago, even though their parents are fucking pissed that they cut school to go run around Chicago by themselves right after that the classmate is killed. That was I enjoyed seeing that part too. I agree with you that it felt a little bit weird that other people felt kind of frozen, but I can kind of like see maybe where they were coming from there. And I don't know. I felt bad for these kids that have so much that they have to deal with. And Eric in particular, Dave, you're talking about his kind of like depression and like feeling like there's just he's like what, how old are these kids, like 9 10 years old,
10.
Yeah.
and he feels utterly trapped in his life. Like he makes that comment like, oh, we're born here, we live here, we die here, and I'm just
here.
like, that's so like sad for a 10-year-old to feel that way, to feel so like crushed and trapped in their situation in life when a 10-year-old should be feeling hopeful and happy. Not to say that kids don't deal with shit, because they do, but you want the best for them and you want them to be happy and dreaming and not feeling like this poor kid feels, and I'm sure other kids feel because of what's going on in their neighborhood, what's going on with that classmate that's killed. And I thought the scene where they went to the funeral was also really compelling, and seeing how the different ways that Malik and Eric handled that situation. Like Malik felt like it was really important to like go to the casket, and Eric was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going anywhere near that. Because people do handle grief in such different ways. And so I thought that was compelling. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else, any other thoughts that I had about the movie. Yeah, I found it emotionally compelling, even if it didn't quite all come together. What about you, Megan? What did you think?
Yeah, I really liked this tremendously. What I wanted to circle back to something that you said, Dave, a long time ago about the photographs, the black and white photographs during the credits, which are stunning. And yeah, those are by Mark Pokempner, and they are residents in Cabrini Green, hence why they were used in the credits. And they were Minhal Baig or Baig. She was inspired by those photographs as well as many, many others for the look of Cabrini Green, because you also said, Dave, earlier that it's very clear there's a very thoughtful intentionality with the filming. And reading the production notes of this, it's very, very clear. Like she wanted this to look and feel as authentic as possible to Cabrini Green, even though they're all torn down
they're
now.
long gone.
Since 2011. So you can't go back to them. But they tried to have other housing projects that were as similar as what those looked, and to recreate interiors and to kind of match them up to what photographs looked like, even though there are not a lot of photographs of interiors of the apartments in those housing complexes, or that housing complex. But I liked the attention to detail. I also really, speaking more on that, I love that Annette Freeman is a consultant, and Annette Freeman is the mother of Dontrell Davis, the 7-year-old who was shot in the neighborhood, and he was shot in real life, as well as in the movie, and they incorporate that incredibly horrific, tragic real life detail. And I like how the film weaves in true life along with the fictional depiction of Malik and his family and Eric and his family. I really loved seeing their friendship, and I agree with you. The performances are great. I think Malik, especially, the kid who plays him, is phenomenal. I think he's so, so good. I like Journey Smollett. I always have. Eve's Bayou, Underground. She's great. She's always really great. And I think she's really good here. I also really liked Esapatha Murkison, especially thinking of her as like a Law and Order. Like, so it's nice to see her in kind of a meteor role. But I agree with you, Dave. There was a lot of exposition, and I'm like, we get it. You're from Tupelo, Mississippi. We get it. You're from Tupelo, Mississippi. And like, but I will say, I like that we get those snippets of her life, but I think I would have liked them more feeling like stories rather than exposition drops. But yeah, I liked the kind of like dreamy look to this. I liked how we get to see what Malik is imagining and dreaming and envisioning the space as he's imagining it beyond the borders and boundaries of the housing complex. I think I liked this better than you two in regards to its commentary on housing projects. I really liked that that's not the focus. I liked that it's there, that there's clearly a commentary going on police brutality and police militarization, and racism and gentrification and all of that. And I like that facet of it, that it's there, it's the fabric, but it's not in the forefront. And I really love that the friendship is in the forefront. And I also really love, because I know we probably all have, but I've seen so many movies that take place in inner cities or in housing complexes, and they're so fucking depressing, and rightfully so. But here we're seeing such a sweet and tender story about families who love each other and close friendships and kids dreaming. And you're absolutely right, Evan, that Eric talking so matter of factly, like, well, we live and die here. Like, it's so jaded and it's so sad. And I think that's why he's so angry and so devastated that Malik is leaving, because it's kind of like this one bright spot in his life. I don't want to say this one part of stability, because clearly he has a stable relationship with his father, but this one kind of joyous part of his life that's being taken away. But yeah, I just really love that we're seeing the beauty and we're seeing the joy and we're seeing this kind of magical element in their lives that I feel like you don't get to see in a lot of films that are about impoverished communities. And they kind of feel like, poverty porn, and they feel really, really icky and really, sad and depressing. And not that this isn't sad, and not that there aren't horrific moments, there are, but I feel like those are woven in exceptionally well.
Right, they're not the focus of the story.
Right.
It's not. I'm thinking about some movies about the inner city, things like Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society. That I mean they're more about like older characters, and they're also like really in the thick of like gang violence and stuff. But yeah, those type of stories can get very dark, and this film, like you said, does cover serious themes, but it does show joy. It shows these characters living happily and having moments of happiness, like especially in the beginning when they're running and jumping on the mattresses, and Malik comes home to a very warm apartment that seems like it's filled with love, and even as simple as that kind of like wide shot while the sister is like laying on the ground, like coloring on the floor.
Yep.
This is clearly a house that, people love each other, and it's joyful, and they find joy in moments like when they're annoyed about eating the same dinner multiple nights in a row, and she tells them, close your eyes, and when they open it, the dessert, there's plates have been swapped and they have pie in front of them. I just thought that was really sweet and really cute.
I agree. But yeah, I think when there are topics that are so heavy, like, children dying, racism, poverty, like these are heavy, heavy issues. I think it is, I think whenever films delve into these really intense topics, it is important to remember that communities do still come together. There is still love, there is still hope. And yeah, I think this film does that really beautifully.
Yeah, I buy all that.
Thanks. Yeah, but it really subverted my expectations in a lot of ways, because, like, for instance, I kept waiting, like, oh, somebody's going to end up on drugs. Like somebody's gonna end up like something terrible is gonna happen.
Something really terrible was gonna happen.
Right. And I'm like, because I feel like we're so primed as audiences to expect that, and because that's what we see. And so I like that this subverted that and really focused on the two boys and their pivotal friendship.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, especially when Eric shoves Malik. Malik trips over the backpack and hits his head on the corner of the desk, and then the screen just goes black for an extended moment.
I was worried.
I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
I know.
And I feel like that. I feel like that was a little cheap.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because
I think
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No. You go.
Okay. I was just gonna say,
stop being so polite.
Because it goes dark for just long enough for you to be like, oh my God, did they kill Malik? Or is he in a coma? And then Eric comes over to the house, and Malik's mom says, well, he's not going to see anybody today, but maybe tomorrow. And it's just like, why? Because he's in a coma? Like, what the hell is going on? And then he says, well, can I pray with you? And it's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this movie doing to me? I thought this wasn't that kind of movie, God damn it. And then it's not that kind of movie. And it's like, oh, you were faking me out. Well, get bent. I mean, not really get bent, but.
But speaking of really intense scenes, again, harkening back to what you said, Dave, I agree with you that the ending is really wrenching. It's a really sweet ending.
Yeah. I do appreciate that in a scene or two before that, Malik's mother said, Malik was asking her, how do we say goodbye to people or whatever? And she said, well, I don't think we ever do, really. I think they're always with us in some way. And I feel like that was kind of, I feel like that's true. And two, I think it was a good way to, who knows whether they're going to see each other again. I would guess that it's maybe unlikely, but at the same time, maybe it's not, So yeah, as somebody who moved not a ton, but a decent amount when he was a kid, it's hard to move. So
that it is.
Anyway, on that downbeat note.
Was there anything else either of you wanted to talk about with this film?
I also really liked that it was in the Art Institute. And funny enough, I did not get Ferris Bueller vibes, even though I think it probably was very intentional.
Staring at that painting, right?
George Seurat,
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, though, I did appreciate that when they cut school, they decided to go to the Art Institute.
I mean,
just
that.
what a couple,
I know.
you're just like, in case you had any doubts about what these kids were like, because this movie takes place, in a housing complex, these are the kinds of kids who go to a museum when they cut school.
I love that. They're kids after my own heart.
Yeah. I mean, and they picked a hell of a good museum to go to.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Chicago's such a great city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much good stuff there.
Yes. I was just there a month ago, and it was a delight. So.
Yeah. I was there last year. Or no, maybe it was a year and a half ago. Anyway, I was there a little while ago, and it was also a delight for me too.
Yep. So Chicago's a delight, like the movie. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do a quick recap then. So we have The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is going to be in theaters. Megan, what say you?
I mean, I don't think you need to rush out and see this. I think you can wait for it. But if you want to see some explosions and boats and knife fights, Nazis die on a big screen, and you want to kind of zone out, you want some escapist fun, sure, go see it. Or wait. But you don't need to rush out.
Or see it, or don't see it. I don't give a fuck what you do.
It's not a must see.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. It's fine.
It sounds like, you're not going to have like the worst time ever if you sit down and watch it. Like you'll probably enjoy yourself for the duration of it.
Yes. And then you'll probably forget about it soon after.
And it's gone with the wind.
Gone with the Wind. Fabulous. Sorry. It's a reality TV Bravo reference. I can't not.
Okay.
It was right there. Showing my reality TV roots.
Nice. Okay. And then We Grown Now. What do we think? This is also going to be in theaters. Sounds like we're all a recommend on this one.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say so. It's got a couple flaws. I think that we, at least Dave and I thought so. We had some critiques, but yeah, overall, I think we really would recommend that one.
Yeah, and aside from the score, which I actually really liked, but I agree with you, it is kind of emotionally manipulative. I think your flaws are measured, even if I don't totally agree. I think they're valid, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I agree with you
okay.
guys.
Sweet. All right. Well, that does it for another episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. We want to say a huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clammer. Otto, thank you for making us sound great week after week.
Thank you, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
If you crap, what was I going to say? Okay. The show. Yeah, so you can find the show anywhere you get podcasts, but you can also find us over at our website, which is spoilerpiece.com. You can also head over to our merch store over on TeePublic. Click the merch tab on our website, and yeah, you can support the show. We have our logo on a million different things, from t-shirts to pillows and mugs and notebooks, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, we're on social media. We're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, and we're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter and Instagram, and I guess we're on Threads technically, not on Blue Sky yet, but you can find us. We're available. We're out there, and you can also get in touch with us in old school ways. You can email us spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
You can leave us a voicemail. You can send us a text. These are some of the ways you can get in touch with us. And you can talk to us about this week's movies. You can talk to us about any movies. You can talk to us about food topics. We're really not picky. We like hearing from you.
It's true.
Favorite Chicago foods, go. I mean, listeners, go.
Yep.
Oh my God, I have so many favorites.
Yeah.
I had the best cake of my life in Chicago. Well, vegan food, because I'm vegan, but vegan cake was the best. Anyway, sorry.
Nice.
And the Chicago diner. I know. Yeah. Pie, my darling.
Okay. Pie, my darling.
Man,
yes, they're amazing.
I mean, it's terrible, but it's great.
It's so great. They're so great. Yeah.
Okay. So if you find yourself in Chicago, check them out.
Yeah, they're at some other restaurant. This is a terrible story. They're carried by a few restaurants. Anyway, I digress, but look them up on Instagram. They're great. They're amazing.
Now you've got your Chicago plug.
I know.
Well, and if you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. That helps us out, gets our name out there, builds us some cred in the podcast world. And we also just really appreciate it. And if you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top of this week's show, our exclusive audio this week, we're talking about the 1974 film, The Conversation, which was a lot of fun. So if you join our Patreon for $5 a month, you get access to exclusive audio like this week's episode. And then you can also vote in polls, and that's really fun. And while I'm talking about Patreon, I want to say a huge thank you to our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
And I think that's all the things I was supposed to say. So my name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast. You can follow me on all the social medias as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
My name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Opinion S World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion S.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on your social medias at Dave Sees Movies, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Threads.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.